Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm the real Manos.
And we are here to bring you our epic top 11 comic books from last year, from 2011. Manos, do you have your 11 comic books?
I have all of them, and they go all the way up to 11.
Man, so you don't need to skip one somewhere where it goes from like 7 to 5.
No, I'm not insane.
First off, we want to apologize to anybody who was expecting Eric. I know I mentioned to a couple people that Eric was going to be doing this with us, and he unfortunately was not able to make it. And it being, well, we're recording this right now on actually midnight, the 2nd, going into the 3rd. It's actually 1 o'clock Manos' time, and we figured, we better go ahead and do it now since it's kind of time sensitive. But Eric will be with us hopefully this weekend. We'll be doing something else with him, so that'll be super awesome. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and give you our top 11 favorite. And I always, Manos, hesitate to say best.
I do hesitate. This, I would say favorite.
Yeah, because
these are the issues to me personally just spoke to me more than the other 18,000 comics that came out this year.
Yeah, and I mean it's it's such a taste issue, and I just know you're going to have things on your list that I'm going to go, crap, I should have put that on there, or that I just didn't even read and might have been awesome had I read them, So
I will say I apologize if your favorite issue isn't on this list. This is my list and Logan's list, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. We should also probably say that for people who watch us on a regular basis, you probably will have heard us talk about most of these before, or at least I know that's true for mine.
And me, I got a few probably recognizable favorites on here.
So anyway, why don't we go ahead and just jump straight into it? And Manos, would you like to go first?
I would love to go first. Thank you.
Go right ahead.
Awesome. I'm going to go with iZombie number 17 by Chris Robinson and Michael Allred. And I've brought this title up just about every issue that I do a review for it. And I just love this book so much. It's probably my favorite Vertigo book. I mean, American Vampire is excellent as well. And let's see. This series has been so fun, and this particular issue I picked because this is where all heck breaks loose in the small town that Gwen lives in, because it has its own zombie disaster. Now, those who haven't been following the series is about Gwen, who is a grave digger and a zombie detective, where she digs up fresh dead people, eats their brains, because she has to survive to keep from going a full zombie. And every time she does that, unfortunately, the last kind of emotions and will that had been going through that brain infect her, and she often has to go and solve a problem related to that person's death. And which sort of sometimes puts her in the role of a detective. And this issue is the big fallout of this whole incoming zombie problem that's erupted all over this small town, and we have all these characters running into each other, which previous issues they had been building up. There had been a small backup called The Dead Presidents, where these kind of monster hunter sci-fi storyline with all these characters named after past presidents. And you think it's just a backup, but it, at this point, falls into the series and just blends in, and it blends in seamlessly too. And Mike Allred's art is always just so beautiful. And there's actually a neat page. There's a two-page spread where Gwen and let's see. Well, actually, you get this. It's a big map of the town, and it has those little "You Are Here" things showing where the characters are here and there throughout the action. And it's just so fun. I can't remember last time I saw a page like that. And I just enjoy it. And I totally recommend it.
All right, my 11 is X-Men Schism number 1.
Oh, yeah.
Jason Aaron on X-Men. I kind of went back and forth on X-Men, and I I don't know, in a way this is like lower on the list than I'd like it to be, and I don't know, I waffled between this and Uncanny #1 because I really like the new Uncanny, but I'm really partial to Sinister, so, what are you going to do? But the art in that book is awesome. Anyway, I decided I had to go ahead and put Schism on this list because this is the thing that got me back into X-Men, and I had not been reading current X-Men for a really, really long time. And this year, I'm back into X-Men, and I'm like, both feet firmly planted back in X-Men again. I mean, I'm reading this, I was reading this, of course this is over now, and reading Uncanny, reading a couple other things, and I just really like where things are going with it right now. It's exciting, and it was also just happily, finally, a really decent jumping on point where I felt like I could figure out what the heck I was looking at. I hadn't read a lot of Jason Aaron before this, and always kind of, because of what I'd heard about Jason Aaron on Punisher and other things, I always kind of had it in my head that Jason Aaron was kind of the, dark, brutal guy, kind of the, writing the kind of underground stories. And I didn't realize that the man can write mainstream superhero, and he can write it really, really well. Anyway, a Schism, of course, is the breaking up of the X-Men into two different teams, and the reason I picked #1 over the rest of it, and not just the fact that it's the one that starts the whole thing, but is because it really establishes Cyclops and Wolverine's appreciation for each other, and I think Jason Aaron really nails their relationship and how they don't really like each other, but they have this really deep-founded respect for each other, and that's what made me really buy into this whole idea. And say what you will about the rest of the series and how perhaps maybe that relationship crumbled quicker than it ought to have. Some people feel that way. I didn't. I thought it worked out okay. But just as an issue on its own, setting this whole thing up, I thought that relationship was really interesting. I really loved just the nostalgia fest of seeing a bunch of Sentinels again, and it's got one of my favorite 2-page spreads of anything this year, with Wolverine and Cyclops fighting off these Sentinels. The other thing that was really cool, I think one of the most touching moments of comics for the year for me was just Wolverine sitting down with this I can't remember who she is, this other younger not real major X-Man, this girl, and just eating ice cream. And it's just this really neat kind of exchange where we get this great moment of Wolverine just sometimes you just got to have some ice cream. I love that scene. It was really cool. So anyway, that's my 11.
I did enjoy that as well, and you may see that on my list as well. But
good. All right. Well, I put it too low.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
My number 10 is Birds of Prey, number 12. And this is by Gail Simone and Jesus Zazi. And this is the one with the sort of Tarantino Ocean's 11 style cover, where they're all, if you can imagine this picture like moving, they would probably be moving in slow motion, with the building exploding in the background. And I have to say, Gail Simone returning to Birds of Prey not that long ago was sort of one of those comeback stories in comics where it's like, a creator who was a huge, big deal with this popular run and then left for whatever reason and is back. And issue 1 was fantastic, and then the first story arc I felt started to drag after a few issues.
Yep, lost me.
And I heard a lot of people talk about that. And then the books, for me at least, slowly picked up again. And issue 12, I thought, was where Simone really found her footing again with this series, which I think is horribly tragic because she was pulled off this book not that long afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, 3 or 4 issues later, she was put on Firestorm and taken off Birds of Prey. And it really irritated me because I felt like
Batgirl, since she's co-writing Firestorm.
Yeah. And this is where, basically, the team is trying to infiltrate this really huge, evil, creepy organization here, and we have the Huntress and the Question working together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yes. I do believe if Simone had been allowed to keep working on Birds of Prey, I'm pretty sure the Question probably would have become more of a regular member. Because she had a ball writing this character, and she...
Well, who wouldn't? It's a great character.
Yeah, and she has a great time. Actually, the question and Huntress are all over this issue, and
So cool.
I know, even Hawk and Dove, who I loathe, are actually tolerable in this issue.
Oh, man.
I know.
I wish I'd stayed on it a little longer.
And they build up to this wonderfully creepy cliffhanger where we get to meet the big bad in this one. And she is really kind of disturbing at the build up to this character, who she is and what she's about. And there's a real good feeling of menace. And I remember reading this and thinking, okay, this is fantastic. And it's one of the reasons why, I was, sometimes frustrated with the New 52, because I wanted to keep reading stuff like this, issue 12 of Birds of Prey, instead of being forced to read something else I, wasn't interested in, or or whatever. So I enjoyed that one a lot.
Well, at the very least, wouldn't you love to think that it's possible that your favorite series might last beyond 12 issues?
That'd be nice. We'll see what happens in a year from now.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big question. But ching. My number 10 is Penguin Pride and Prejudice #1. This is a mini-series that's actually not over. It's still going. And the whole mini's been good so far. #1 was just a fantastic issue. And part of the reason I put this on here is just for the art. Simon Krodansky is so fantastic and one of my favorite artists right now. He's been drawing Spawn. And what he does with Penguin is pretty much just what he's doing with Spawn. And I don't care. It's awesome. It's really dark, but it's kind of photorealistic. And what he does with lighting and shading is really different from anything else I'm reading. And I think difference doesn't necessarily mean better, but what he does is extremely detailed. And the fact that it's not like anything else I'm looking at certainly does have something to do with why I like it so much. But the story itself is it's somewhat what you would expect for a Penguin story, but it's the whole point of especially modern Penguin, now is this is a guy who a lot of horrible things happened to him in his childhood, and he didn't like being bullied, so he became a bully, and now he's kind of like the ultimate bully. And this book, I think deals with that better than anything else I've ever seen. And I with the Penguin, and I love it when you can make me care about. First of all, when the villain is kind of the protagonist. And I still hate him, but I also really like him, and I find him really interesting. And he's engaging and perplexing, and everything you want in a really good villain. And when you have to look at him the whole time, and it's not really about Batman. You've got to have you got to have that really good character stuff, and that's all there. The other thing that's really neat about it, the nonlinear storytelling is really good. Where we've got flashbacks and where we've got kind of a little bit of his origin interwoven into a story happening now, and all of it calls back to each other and has to do with each other. And I really like all the Penguin motifs and how they're how we get kind of a sense of why he latched onto them. Things like why he carries an umbrella, and why he's one of the things that this one did that I hadn't seen anything do before, and maybe I just missed things, was really trying to explain why he's so obsessed with like trinkets and the accumulation of things, and why he's so good at that kind of black market stuff, and played into a lot of the same stuff that they were doing with No Man's Land, which of course is one of my favorite things ever. So anyway, really cool miniseries, and I think that may be, I know that's 2 miniseries things in a row for me, but I think that's the only other mini I have on this list.
I have a couple minis on this list, and actually, funny you mention that, my next one is a mini.
Cool.
Yeah. My number 9 is American Vampire, Survival of the Fittest, issue 5. And this was a miniseries that came out through the middle of the year, alongside of this is Scott Snyder and Sean Murphy. And it came out during the same time Snyder was doing a World War II arc in the regular series. And I'm not too sure of the origins of this, if he was plotting to put it as part of the main storyline, or there was just too much and he just decided to do a miniseries and got to go. I don't know. But I'm glad he did, because I really enjoyed this book. It involved it involved Dolly Book and Cash, who are working for the U.S. government. They normally fight vampires, and they learn that the Nazis have some sort of agreement going on with vampires, and they infiltrate this plot, and they're hoping that the scientist working with them has a cure for vampirism. And it's actually even bigger than what they had feared. And I won't give too much away, but it involves these giant immortal vampires who are like probably the oldest vampires, and they're just giant and monstrous. And issue 5, I chose issue 5 partly because I didn't want this whole list to be just ones.
I had some of that going on too.
I know. So appropriate that, the 2011 has like so many ones going on.
Good point.
But anyway,
this year every issue will start at number 12.
Yeah, no kidding.
We'll have a lot of really great last issues that'll all be 12s.
Anyway, this book picks up where the cliffhanger left off, where the giant old ones are attacking. So we have our heroes escaping while gigantic vampires are attacking Nazi vampires, and they're escaping in sort of almost on a motorcycle, almost like The Great Escape, except with Nazi vampires fighting in the background. And Sean Murphy's art is so good, and it's classic comic book kind of style mixed with a nice healthy dose of like realism. I don't know, it just feels. You just feel the weight of the tanks and the machinery going on, and boy, what a great sequence! And it ends well. There's a lot of great action, and then at the end we have a nice emotional scene, which I won't really dig into. I think you should just read the series to really experience it. And he does cityscapes so well. I mean, there's this wonderful last page where we see our main character sitting on the window of an apartment, and it just pulls back, and it's so beautiful. I really enjoyed this a lot.
My number 9, and I had a really tough time deciding which one I was going to pick from this series, so I ended up kind of just copping out.
I've had that problem too.
And going with number 1, and I think that maybe subsequently there have been a couple issues of this that are somewhat better than this, but it's really tough to get away from it. This is Daredevil number 1.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, this was not a series I was expecting to fall in love with as hard as I did. This is Mark Waid writing Daredevil, and writing the Daredevil I've been wanting for years. I cannot stress how cool of a mix this is of other Daredevil work from the past, and how well he's able to balance the darker stuff, which there's not, a ton of, but it doesn't it doesn't skimp out like when it needs to be to be more violent and stuff, but then it's also, got the old school lighthearted. If you could marry Frank Miller and Stan Lee, that's what he did, I think. And it's incredible work. What's cool is that it deals with some stuff that Daredevil's been avoiding for a few years. The big thing being, everybody thinks they know Matt Murdock's Daredevil, and finally they're dealing with it. And Mark Waid plays it for laughs, but in a really smart way. And I really dig it, because that's where there's a lot of comedy in this book, and you can really take it seriously. But a lot of the comedy comes from people going, "Hey, you're Daredevil." No, I'm not. And this Matt Murdock constantly denying he's Daredevil. And really, what are you gonna do? That's really all it ends up being. But what's really cool is that it also affects his personal life, because it's finally Matt Murdock as the lawyer again, which I've been missing, because Daredevil's a ninja, had its interesting points, but I wanted Daredevil to eventually get back to basics, and that's what we have here. So it's Matt Murdock. Okay, he's a Daredevil. He's a lawyer again, but there are people who won't go to him for their cases because they think he's Daredevil, and a lot of the problem is he's too high profile, and so people kind of stay away from him. And actually, in the most recent issue, I got to mention this real quick. He's wearing a sweatshirt that says "I'm Daredevil." That was fantastic. I also, and I don't know if this was intentional. Tell me what you think about this, man. I love the cover for this book, and that's maybe part of the reason I picked this too, because if you really look at it, all the buildings and stuff in the background are made up of words, but the words are like sound effects words.
Yes.
So it's like how Matt Murdock would, in a comic book sense, see things, because he uses his radar sense, and he sees things with vibrations, and so it's all these sound effect words, all automatopoeia, which I think is a brilliant thing to do. But then at the same time, while he's jumping, he's got part of his stick right in his face and his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is just a really cool statement. It's like, yeah, I got my weapon right in front of my eyeballs because I don't use those. While you're seeing kind of how I experience things. That was the thing that struck me first before I even read this, was I was like, wow, that cover is smarter than Daredevil's been in like a year. Like, just the cover. Anyway, I thought it was really cool. And I know that you liked the previous Daredevil series a lot more than I did. But I mean the prior run, not like Shadowland stuff.
Up until the middle of Shadowland, I was on board, and then
but this
brought in the possession of Matt Murdock. I think that really kind of pulled the whole wind out of all the drama.
Well, yeah, because he wasn't responsible for anything, and guess what? He shows back up here, and he's not responsible for anything. I mean, not really. I mean, like, yeah, he's still kind of, sort of, he feels bad about stuff. He's like, oh, what are you going to do? I was possessed.
Well, and then that's the proper way to handle that.
It is, absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm not complaining about that with this. I'm just saying that that was the problem with the previous series. Would you agree with me if I were to say that this is still better than the good parts of that?
Oh, yes.
I love it. It's great.
Yeah. I think it was Andy Diggle.
Yeah,
Andy Diggle, I think, had a pretty good run up until the middle of Shadowland. Now, I don't know if that was his plan, or was that maybe a group effort or something like that.
I'm not sure either.
And but this, this is much better.
And what really got my attention, besides the cover, when I popped this open, was, hey, look, it's the Spot. Like, it's one of my favorite, like, really silly, obscure villains, and he just pops up out of nowhere. Well, he would, because he's, the Spot.
Aha, yeah.
Pops up out of nowhere. But I mean, like, I don't know, I think Wade was really trying to get our attention. This is not Daredevil as you knew him before, but it's familiar all the same. Anyway, it's great. This still remains one of my favorite books that I'm reading right now, and if I had to drop my pull list to 2 books, this would be one of them. Which means it probably shouldn't be number 9 on my list.
Yeah, it should be
but it should maybe be higher. But again, this is for single issues.
All right.
So whatever. So my list is all bogus and all over the place, but this is definitely one of the ones that I really like. Go ahead, Manos.
Okay, Logan. My issue. We're up to 8, right?
8.
And 9, 8. Yeah, my number 8 is The Legend of Willpower number 2.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't gotten to read that issue yet.
I know. I'll if you want, I'll send it to you if you haven't bought it. Because I highly recommend this issue. This is really Vince White, written and drawn by Vince White. And of course, I have to mention that Primal Paper Comics is the same people who do Red Knight. But I think this is probably the best issue the company has done. Because Willpower, quick explanation, it's sort of the reverse on the classic superhero accident, where a lab accident gives a superhero great powers. And it's the reverse in Willpower. A lab accident causes the entire universe to become less dense, except for Will, who got stuck in a chamber and he wasn't affected. So now he's the most powerful being in the universe. And it plays off it starts building the rules in this issue. Actually, he is still fresh out of stasis, and he's getting to know this new world that he's now living in. He wants to know what happened to his father and his friends, and he's attacked by this character, the first villain of the series, Payday, who is this mercenary techno killer, and he is like, first off, he's a wisecracker character similar to like maybe Deadpool, and he's got a really cool trick up his sleeve, and I don't want to really give it away. And he is probably actually one of my favorite new villains of this year, and I'm including like this with Marvel and DC and what have you. I really dug this issue, and the art, I think it's a little even sharper than it was in the previous issue. Also, Vince really does enjoy the science of the science fiction of this book. He talks about, what a less dense universe does to a person who hasn't been affected, who is, seemingly normal. And oh boy. And there's also a word puzzle at the end. This book is so much fun, and you can obviously tell that Vince is having a ball doing this book.
It is fun. I read it, and I really liked it too.
Yeah, I highly recommend you get it.
My number 8 is Ghostbusters #1 from Heidi.
Ghostbusters almost made my list.
Oh, Ghostbuster and every issue has been frickin' fantastic. This isn't about this issue specifically, but I have to mention that one of the things that I've been really impressed with this series is that besides that they just get the tone of Ghostbusters right, is that it seems to kind of pull in everything Ghostbusters besides just the movies and find ways to make little tidbits canonical, even if you don't know what they are. Like, it's not really important if you know them, but like, if you've played the video game, there are a couple of references to it. And it's just really clever the way they've done it. And in the most recent issue, they had this joke where it was like, oh yeah, that was the mission where we were working with the rookie. What's his name? Because in the video game, the rookie is not named, and the rookie is just you, because you're playing him. and so, like, they call attention to the perspective of the video game in the comic book. Anyway, it's very, very clever. And, I was grabbed immediately when I popped this open. First of all, by the lighthearted and extremely fun cartoony art, which it's Ghostbusters, and I don't have a problem with the fact that the art is kind of cartoony, because it's also really detailed, and the style is very consistent, and it's just it's the right tone. It can get creepy, but it's just trying to, be a really, really fun comic book. But when I popped it open, first thing that really grabbed me was this dream sequence at the beginning with the Ray Puffed Marshmallow Man, and Ray is having this bizarre dream where he actually talks to, John Belushi. And, I just love that. This thing knows its roots. It has an absolute sense of what it is and what it wants to do. And, I could see something that's trying to be Ghostbusters that had, that very specific tone. Cause I always had this idea that the only people who could really write Ghostbusters were, really, if Aykroyd's not involved, then it's not going to be good. And this thing has totally proven me wrong. This could have been written by Aykroyd himself, in a way. And they make it their own, but it feels like Ghostbusters, what it's supposed to feel like. Anyway, I don't want to go too much into this. It's Ghostbusters, and it's brilliant. Anyway.
Here's a fun fact. Do you know that, some episodes of the real Ghostbusters cartoon were written by J. Michael Straczynski?
Yes, I do. Yep.
And J.M. Demetrius wrote a couple episodes too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I love J.M. Demetrius, and his episode's pretty funny.
I thought JMS was one of the executive producers of that show.
I think he was.
I think he not only wrote some scripts, but I think he was deeply involved in the overall plotting of that show.
Yeah, I think
for at least parts of it, because I've heard things and I don't know that show that well, so I could be wrong about this, but I've heard things when he left, it went downhill and things like that. But I don't know if it was that he left or that he came on and it got better. I don't really know how that worked. But anyway, whatever. I know there was a point where he wasn't there and it wasn't as good as when he was.
Yeah. I do enjoy the fact that Egon now has dark hair again.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing I meant to mention, and part of the reason I picked the first issue was because it made Winston important.
Yeah.
To really, really like. I mean, it makes me like Winston, and he's like, he's not just the fourth wheel. He's important. He's one of the Ghostbusters in this. It's really cool.
Well, if you do any research on the backstory, he actually has like a bit of a backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Like he had a whole bunch of different jobs, and I think he was in the service, and
Yeah.
I think he was even a paramedic or something like that. He was a working guy. And I think actually in his interview scene, it was actually much longer where he talks about all that. And then for just time and for comic timing, they just, cut it the way they did.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Because in the movies, it just kind of comes off as, well, we needed a fourth one.
Yeah.
I forgot about this. I should also mention that when I first reviewed the first issue and tweeted about it, I actually got a direct tweet from the writer of this book, Burnham, and he was just really ecstatic about the review I gave it, and said thanks a lot for letting people know about it. And I'm like, well, people need to be reading this book. It's awesome. So anyway, it was really neat. I got contacted directly by him. Your turn.
Okay, my issue is number 7, I think, right?
Number 7.
All right, my number 7 is my first number 1 of this list.
Ooh, it's not a number 7?
Yeah.
Oh.
And let's see, it is Action Comics number 1.
Oh, Action
Grant
Comics.
Morrison and Rags Morales.
Yeah.
And if any issue is going to
confused with Miles Morales.
Yeah. But if any issue makes you think, oh, this whole reboot thing is totally worth it, changing continuity, it would be this one.
Yeah.
Because, I'm a big fan of the John Byrne post-crisis origin. I thought that was really well done, and they really didn't need to mess with it like they had been over the last 10, 15 years almost. Since the mid-'90s, they started messing with it. But you know what? This is really good, and one of the things I liked about it was it does really do take Superman back to his very first origins, with the style of hero he was. He was a more rough and two-fisted kind of character, not as powerful as he is today. He was a real kind of like fighting for the common man, social character, and he exploits that in this first story, or at least this first issue anyway. And what I love is all the little motifs, like leaping over buildings and in a single bound and faster than the speeding train, over and over here that I think are very subtly woven into the plot. One of the things I also like is his relationship with Jimmy Olsen seems for the first time ever believable, and
Wow, you think?
I think so, because the relationship always seemed a little. I don't know. It's a little too sidekicky for me.
Well, I don't know how I cared about them seeming to be nearly the same age.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I personally don't have a problem with that.
All right.
But I don't know.
I'm
that
not
might be a
sure
thing.
I do. I just, it raised my eyebrow, certainly.
It did. And, let's see. This is a great little action movie within 22 pages or something like that. And, I had a lot of fun with this comic. And, I don't know. I'm one of those people who didn't get offended by, the change in, tone for the character. And I do understand that in present day, he's more like the Superman we know, just in the Jim Lee costume. And I don't know. I kind of like seeing him run around in jeans and a shirt for a few issues. I think it looks pretty cool. So that's my number 7. What's yours?
Yeah, all right. My number 7 is Fantastic Four number 600.
Woohoo!
Really, really enjoyed this, and I'm sure a lot of people weren't real thrilled with it just because it brought Johnny Storm back. Because hey, it's another character we killed off and brought back a few months later. They kept him dead almost a year.
That's a record.
Yeah, well, it sure feels like it, doesn't it? And then, of course, it turns out to be one of those things where he's not really dead, where he was in the negative zone, and he actually died over and over again. So it was a real death. There was lots of real deaths, and then how he came back is plausible, because, it's the negative zone, and there's a good explanation. I won't get into it. Anyway, honestly, I'm less annoyed about the fact that, they air quotes killed him and then kept him dead for a while and then brought him back than I am, because of course they're going to bring him back. And they treat it like it's inevitable. You know what I mean? Like they're not like, I don't think Hickman's trying to make you think, before, oh, we're never going to bring him back. I almost don't like more the fact that they did the whole like black bag issue and all that for when they killed him. Because it's like, well, we know he's not really gonna stay dead. Like all of that seemed way too hyped for me. What made his death kind of work is that they used it as a reason. You can call it excuse, but I mean they used it as a reason to kind of show what life for these people would be like for a while with one of their team members gone. And FF has been a really fantastic book, so I mean it was worth it. What I love about 600 is that it's a bunch of vignettes that all are, interwoven together in interesting ways and are all have to do with each other. It's not just a bunch of random stories like you often get in one of these big anniversary things. I mean, because the point of this was, it's number 600. We're finally bringing the Fantastic Four book back. Now they're going to have Fantastic Four and FF running simultaneously. I'm not sure what I think about that yet. But also this was, a giant oversized, 100-page issue. This is, by the way, is an $8 issue. But it's also because it's the 50th anniversary of Fantastic Four, so I really like that, it's 50th anniversary. We were never planning to just keep FF, we were always going to bring the Fantastic Four back. And, what's cool about it is usually with these big anniversary kinds of things, you have a bunch of like random throwaway stories that aren't important, or you have like old reprinted stories and things like that, so that they can pack it into 100 pages, make it feel like a giant event, but really it's just not all that big of a deal. I mean, they did that with last year. They did that with big milestones for Batman and Superman, where they didn't have reprints and they had a bunch of interesting like 2-3 page short stories, and some of them were really good. It's just that like none of them felt really all that important or necessary, except for like the main event at the beginning. This whole thing is the main event. That's so cool. You don't usually see that. The whole thing is written by Hickman. The man is a powerhouse. Like, he doesn't stop. It's like one day he's saying, I'm sure he had this all planned out, but it's like one day Hickman's writing FF and going, man, I got way too much going on in this book. I got Black Bolt popping out of nowhere, giving him his own issue. Nobody knows what the heck that's about. He almost thought I have his own book by this point. I've just got so many ideas. I got so many threads running through. I know. I'm just going to bring Fantastic Four back and split it in 2 books. And heck, you got to read them both. I'm sorry about that, but I've just got too much to say. Like, that's what it feels like. And, again, I'm not sure how I feel about having to buy 2 Fantastic Four books if I want to read his story, and it's getting really complicated because he's doing so much stuff with it. But this book, just as a standalone, I'm kind of impressed that you could, and this is, easy to say for me since I've been reading FF, but I'm pretty sure you could pick this up and it would be a decent jumping on point. You could go on from here. And I really like that about it. And again, it's a big expensive book, but man, you're getting a whole lot of story for there's like 4 or 5 vignettes in this. And then at the end, and there's some great Galactus stuff. And, I'm just a sucker for Galactus. Galactus comes back and I'm not going to tell you what he does. You need to read this. It's awesome. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say. I mostly just put this on here because it's an oversized book that does what I've never seen an oversized book that I've always wanted to see an oversized book do. So, yeah, it's exciting. So cool.
Fantastic Four is definitely one of those books that I'm not reading, and I like thinking about picking it up. It's like I'm trying to figure out do I have enough money?
Yeah.
Stretch, or what should I drop for this? It's one of those books that I've been tempted to pick up lately, and I don't know. I might actually this year.
It's great. What I would suggest, if you can save up a little bit of cash for it, is I would suggest going ahead and getting at least like the first trade for FF and just see if you like the style. Because if you don't like that, you're not going to like it.
I've been wanting good FF for a long time.
Well, the thing about it is, it was kind of under the radar for a while. Hickman's been writing good Fantastic Four for a while. I mean, even before FF. The thing is, I was reading Fantastic Four before FF.
Yeah.
With the 3 storyline.
Oh, I know Hickman's been on it and has been doing well.
A lot of it because of Epting's art, because I mean, Epting's drawing this extremely epic, ultra crazy science fiction stuff where he's taking it seriously, but it's crazy. Like he's drawing crazy stuff that would seem really silly if somebody else was drawing it, but he makes it look like an epic masterpiece, That's what Fantastic Four ought to be.
All right. Who's ready for my number, let's see, is this 5? We're at 5.
6.
6.
I'm ready.
Okay, I guess I wasn't ready. I'm at issue 6, and my issue 6 is X-Men Schism, number 1.
Number 1, all right.
And I really dug this issue. I don't know what got into me. I haven't read X-Men for since 94. So when I saw the ads pop up, I saw people starting to talk about this issue, and it got some really good solid reviews from people, including yourself, actually. I think it's your review that kind of got the fire under me to, just pick it up. And
I'm glad you didn't think it sucked.
What's that?
I said I'm glad you didn't think it sucked.
I did not. I enjoyed the heck out of it. Jason Aaron, I really enjoyed his dialogue a lot. The whole, almost I didn't need anything to happen action-wise. I just enjoyed the interplay between Cyclops and Wolverine all through this.
I didn't either. That's why when cool action things started happening, it was like the icing on the cake for me.
Yeah, it was just wonderful. It just starts out. It has a lot of fun with Wolverine and, his various jobs in the Marvel Universe now. His first appearance, he shows up with all these, throwing stars and arrows stuck in him, and he's just going, yep, just another night. And, it of course, we already discussed it, so I won't get too deep into it. One of the things I love most about the X-Men books, is the political aspects and metaphors all throughout the series. And when they don't touch that, I do kind of lose interest because it turns kind of into another superhero thing, where I can get from Avengers or Justice League.
Yeah.
So this jumps right into it. I love the stuff at the UN. I love the stuff with people reactivating Sentinels. And of course, obviously, it's a good metaphor for the post-Cold War arms race that's been going on over the last few years. And this book is flawless, I think, and the miniseries was quite good. And to the point where I'm thinking, I haven't bought the first issues of the new 52 X-Men books. But,
no, that's fair.
I haven't bought them yet, but I've been seriously considering it. Much like the X-Men books.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I gotta tell you, I did not realize the sheer number of X books until they started this new event, and I saw Regenesis on top of so many titles.
Yeah.
And once I saw all these books with Regenesis on the top of them, I went, wow, there's a bazillion X books.
They're very interested in a comeback.
Can't read all that. Yeah, well, and now with X-Men versus Avengers coming up and stuff, they're really trying to put X-Men right back in the forefront.
Which is probably the best way to do it. After all, Avengers is what replaced the X-Men as the most important series of books in the early 2000s. It seems only fitting that they would do it that way.
I don't want to get too much into this, but do you think part of it is kind of a ploy because of how the films are going?
Yeah.
We just really popular X-Men movie that made money, and they didn't expect it to do as well as it did. And we've got Avengers coming up. I don't know, man. I think that's got to have something to do with it.
Yeah, I think so. I think if Howard the Duck had been successful, we'd be seeing them, interplaying him, into this scenario.
Hey, but if the event was X-Men versus Howard the Duck, man, I'd be all over that.
Ooh, I'd be
X-Men
all over.
No, I'm kidding. Actually,
I'd be all over the lobby of the movie theater.
Yeah, no, I don't mean in the theater. I mean in comic books.
Oh, okay.
You'd read that.
All right. I wouldn't. I actually despise Howard the Duck.
I'm kidding. I don't like Howard the Duck either. Okay, moving on. I was completely kidding, and it wasn't funny. Okay. this is another book where I had a tough time deciding which one I wanted to pick, but I had to be on here. Believe it or not, once again, it's Jason Aaron. Not even kidding. Incredible Hulk #2. And I picked #2 over #1 because, well, I can't say that the fact that the Hulk is fighting giant sharks has nothing to do with it.
What does Aquaman have to do with this?
Because that's just cool. Aquaman has nothing to do with this, okay? It's Hulk fighting giant Hulk sharks. Anyway, what's really neat about what Jason Aaron is doing with this is that it's not the big gimmicky thing I might have expected, and I honestly almost didn't pick this up because I'm not even a Hulk fan. Like, I don't generally read Hulk, but I had to start buying this when I read the first when I skimmed through the first issue because the premise is not just simply Bruce Banner and the Hulk split apart. And go their separate ways, and they're dealing with being a single entity, but it's Bruce Banner as a mad scientist trying to recreate the Hulk, and the psychology of this is fascinating to me. Like Bruce Banner is supposed to be our protagonist. Usually, he's the guy that we're supposed to be going along with, but he's kind of the bad guy in this, and it's working, which is what's really interesting. The whole idea is that Bruce Banner, even though he finally got rid of the Hulk, feels like the Hulk is, even though, it's this big scary creature, it's the only thing he ever accomplished ever. And he's got this, scary complex because of this. So he goes to this island and he's trying to recreate Hulks. And so he's got all these, Hulk minions that he controls that he's made and stuff, but he can't figure out how to turn himself back into the Hulk because he wants to try to come up with some new way to do it. And then, ultimately he decides, well, I'm just gonna have to go back and do it the way I did before and hit myself with a gamma bomb. And meanwhile, you've got Hulk, who's like, I'm finally away from frickin' Bruce Banner, thank God, and then Bruce Banner won't leave me alone because he keeps sicking his attack Hulks on me, and this is obnoxious. And so then, where we are in the series right now, we're about to have a major confrontation between the two. But there's also some really great humor in this. It's really over the top, which is what I like. Because it's the psychology is really interesting and serious, and there's some realism there, but the rest of it's just out there and over the top and crazy, wild bunch of Hulks on an island fighting each other, and again, Hulk fighting giant sharks. We've got this we've got this branch of the U.S. government that exists specifically to seek out and destroy mad scientists, which I just love. and it's headed up by a woman whose last name is Von Doom. And every time she introduces herself, she says no relation. And I just think this is such a great idea. She says that she and her family hate Victor Von Doom because they've ruined their family name, even though they're not related and have nothing to do with each other. And it really makes her angry. And so she's a really fun character too. And I don't know. It's great. So anyway, that's my #6.
That's a brilliant idea. I mean, obviously, there's got to be somebody else named Von Doom in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, isn't that cool? I mean, you never get that kind of stuff in comics.
Yeah, I mean, she could have done what people did when, after World War II. There were other Hitlers, and I've heard stories about Hitlers changing their names. So they don't have to worry.
Yeah, and of course, Adolf is certainly not popular like it might have been at one time, and
it's less popular than it was 100 years ago.
Right.
But turning Bruce Banner into the antagonist actually sounds really intriguing.
Isn't it cool? I mean, because when the premise first came out, there were people who were like, well, that's been done before, Hulk and Bruce Banner splitting apart like this, but this is totally different. That's the beginning of it, but what he's doing with it's very original.
All right, now we're at issue 5 for me.
Number 5.
And this is another one of my number ones. Actually, you're going to see quite a bit more now. This is Batwoman #1.
Ooh, really?
Yes, by J.H. Williams III. Now, of course, this book had gotten sort of infamous for being late, and of course, after 52 was announced, we kind of figured out what the problem was.
Yeah, it wasn't late at all. They were done it months ahead. Yeah.
He had to redraw parts of it, which we would sometimes see here and there. I saw a couple of articles on it about the differences that he had to kind of change and tweak, which was unfortunate. This is one of the reasons why there didn't need to be any. Now this is the thing. Action Comics #1 is a good argument for the continuity changes in the New 52, and Batwoman #1 is a good argument against the continuity changes in the New 52, because this book it's still connected to the pre-52 Batwoman universe, which really wasn't that affected, really. Thankfully, it was still sort of independent, so there's not too many changes that really mess this book up. Actually, barely any that I can notice. So we just got a new #1, and it's exciting. It does recap what had happened through exposition and dialogue, and it's done very efficiently too. So it doesn't drag the book down to a screeching halt. It comes in the form of an argument between Kate Kane and her father, and we have her diving right into a kind of creepy murder mystery with this ghost woman named the Weeping Woman, who is killing children all over Gotham City. So she's on to the mystery. The first sequence is ghostly and creepy, and gets into the kind of supernatural aspects of the Batman universe, which I really enjoyed. They used to do that sometimes in the 70s, giving Batman these kind of creepy storylines. And that's what they're doing here. And Williams just does it so effectively. And I just adore how he can go from standard comic panel work and then turn the page, and we have this crazy, strange montage where, the characters are bleeding in, to the other panels. And, the panel work is reshaped, kind of to form, whatever kind of metaphor or, discussion that they're, talking about. I mean, good Lord, what a great book. Was totally on board with this one. I was really excited to pick it up.
What I love about Batwoman is I've never known another character who comes with their own panel layout.
Yeah.
Like, if you open a Batwoman book, you know what it's going to look like. And I mean, like, but it still will surprise you because it's jagged and everywhere, and you never know exactly how it's going to lay out. But I mean, nobody else has a panel layout like that. And it's just that character. It doesn't matter what book she's in, that layout shows up. And what's really funny is, when she showed up in Batman Inc., that panel layout followed her.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I love that.
You know what I love? I often compare Williams' work to, I think it was Steranko, who worked on Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Back in the 60s, with the sort of kind of experimental techniques he was using in comics at the time. Mm-hmm. And Williams is the only person who's kind of followed up on that, where, thought goes into the panel layouts instead of just the panel layouts being, standard. He attempts to do something to make you look and think, and it's just beautiful work.
Well, you said you're kind of on a string now, #1s. I'm apparently on a string of #2s. My #5 is actually Action Comics #2. Because there are there are some new books this year that came out, and I really love their #1s, but I felt like their #2s were superior, and Action Comics is one of them. I think that, I think you're right that #1 is fantastic, but this thing made Mad Scientist Lex awesome in work, and I gotta put it on the list over #1. Also, I think that Rags Morales brings his best artwork in this issue over anything else so far done in this. What are we at, 3 or #4 by now in the series?
I think he's at 4.
I think so too. And but I love what he does here. We've got that last sequence at the end of #1 really blew me away, because you were talking about the motifs that he was using. What was really cool was that he turned one upside down, and it was kind of jarring, where it's Superman, and he looks like he's faster than a speeding bullet. Then he gets hit by one. Oh, I love that. Mm-hmm. And then we get into #2, and we've got him all tied up, and Lex is experimenting on him, and it's all dealing with the Kryptonian mythos in a way we've never really seen it done before. And I mean, it's this kind of, dark, more realistic, scary kind of way. And I really like it because I really like this idea that Superman can still come out of this and become something closer to what we generally know and what he's going to be like later on, in Justice League and everything. And I find him more of an endearing character that is able to get past all this, because he's got every reason to hate human beings at this point. I mean, like he gets he's being electrocuted. He's in an electric chair. It's this really weird, creepy image of Superman in an electric chair. And, I love these nuances Morrison puts in, like Lex assuming that he must be in disguise because he's an alien, and how could he possibly look like human beings? Lex makes all these assumptions, and he's like, well, we found this other, alien-looking thing in your spacecraft, and so you must be one of these things, And then the idea that the government has control of the spacecraft as opposed to it being with the Kents and everything. These changes are really interesting, and like you said with number one, make it a good argument for the 52. I think it's a lot better than most of the 52, and like I said, I actually thought this was even quite a bit better than number one, so that's why I chose it.
I was very close to putting number two on my list instead of number one, but I don't know. It was almost a coin toss, really. That's a great issue.
That's why I did that then.
Yeah, I love that issue. I love that moment where Lex shows him the alien corpse that they found, and I love his reaction to that. I love how he just bursts out laughing.
Yeah.
Because Lex thought he had him. He thought that was a gotcha moment. And he just, if he wasn't strapped to that chair, he would have fell out laughing.
Yep.
All right. Now, we're at my number 4.
Number 4.
And it is Wonder Woman number 1.
Oh, yeah.
By Brian Azzarello and Cliff Chiang.
I didn't pick that, but I really I like what I've read of that so far.
I really enjoyed it, and issue 1 was just... Let me tell you, it was just exhilarating because Wonder Woman has had a tough year and a half, really bad for her. Gail Simone was pushed off the book to be replaced by JMS and his really bad reboot of the character after issue 600. And issue 600 was almost a slap in the face because it's a whole bunch of mini stories telling us how awesome Wonder Woman is, and then the last one is like totally destroying all that.
What's the point of that?
I know, it's like that's a weird celebration of the character. Oh, and
that with Superman,
Yeah. So, and then of course, the drama with the bad David E. Kelly pilot. So and of course, I guess the movie fell through again. So it's been a really rough year for Wonder Woman fans, and so the news came that Azzarello was going to be doing the book, and I always thought, wow, what a weird choice. I never really considered him for like this kind of storytelling, and his idea was doing a more horrific take on the DC gods and goddesses, and what it's like for Wonder Woman to deal with that. And the story, I know I've had some Wonder Woman fans irritated that. A lot of it deals with Zola, the new character that's been brought in here, who has been impregnated by Zeus, and the gods are out to destroy her and her baby as punishment. Although I don't know, sometimes I think maybe Hera should just kind of just live and let live. It's like this happens like all the time for the last 8 billion years. You'd think he'd be kind of used to it, like a Kennedy. And the story starts out action-packed with the character being attacked and Hermes sending her to Wonder Woman to be her protector. And, of course, that leads Wonder Woman on this journey protecting her, learning that everything she thought she knew about her own origin was wrong, which, to be honest, I'm waiting for my full judgment on the changes Azzarello's doing before I really make any decisions, because I want to read the story arc complete. I'm not too sure if I'm totally on board with the change, but the fact that we just had an exciting first issue and it was really well written and it's beautifully drawn, and Wonder Woman is just thrown into the mix, and I like how he doesn't care about resetting the universe with one issue. He just wants to get his head first into the story. And that's what I was really excited about. And I remember reading this a couple of times, just thinking, man, this is great.
My number 4, once again, is a number 2, because I just couldn't pick number 1 over this, is Ultimate Comics, Spider-Man number 2. And, I know that there's kind of a debate amongst people about this new character Miles Morales and what Bendis is doing with Ultimate now. I gotta tell you, I was never into Ultimate before this. I had hardly ever read any Ultimate, and this got me into Ultimate. I was just really curious because everybody's like, "Oh, this is awful. This can't be good." And I'm like, "Well, it's Bendis. It can't be that bad." And so I gotta try it, you know. My first thought was like a lot of people. I was like, "Well, it's not right that you're going to bring in a character who, like, as far as we know, didn't even seem to exist before this, and who didn't know Peter Parker, et cetera, et cetera." And I'm glad I gave it a chance because those are all unfair assumptions. I realized as I started reading this. I think this is Bendis at his best because Bendis does character plotting and dialogue way better than he does action, and that's why there's often not a lot of action in his books. And sometimes I felt this way with some of his Avengers. Sometimes it feels like it'll just sit there for a while, and this has not felt that way. Although there hasn't been a lot of action yet, and that hasn't been a problem for me because he's really focusing on who this character is, making him somebody that we really, really care about, and most importantly, that we can buy, filling the mantle for Peter Parker. What's really cool is he doesn't try to make him somebody who's like so like fantastically perfect and noble that he's like better than Peter Parker or even as cool as Peter Parker. He does what I think you have to with something like this, where if you're gonna have somebody else be Spider-Man, and again, I'm not even sure how I feel about that. Somebody else is Spider-Man, but that doesn't change that this is a good book. What I really like about Miles Morales is that he's kind of like Peter Parker in that he's in over his head, and he has an imagination where he kind of has this romantic idea about being a superhero, but at the same time, that's not what he really wants to do, and he knows he's not prepared for it. And like Peter Parker would often have, you got that classic thing where he ends up getting these spider powers. And, by something not completely unrelated to Peter Parker, because it's Osborn tech that does the spider. So it's related, but it really is a freak accident. And, like Peter Parker, he's got these powers and he runs into places where he has to use them because he feels like it would be unconscionable not to. But he's absolutely not ready for what he gets himself into. The reason I picked issue 2 is because he's really, this is the issue where he's talking to his friend a lot about this and trying to figure out what the heck is he going to do with these powers. I'm not Spider-Man. I can't be Spider-Man. Why are we even talking about this? It's crazy. And then we get this background about his uncle. And I find this one of the cooler ideas that Bendis came up with for this, where he's at his uncle's house, and in the first issue, and that's how he gets bitten by the radioactive spider, because he used to work for Oscorp, I think, and he gets bitten by the spider, and you find out that his uncle is actually not the nicest guy, and is actually kind of crooked, and that he and Miles Morales' father used to work together and used to steal stuff together, and Miles' father just tells him this for the first time, and it's this really kind of heart-wrenching sort of scene where they're out in a park, and his father is explaining to him for the first time that he used to be a criminal, and he's gone the straight and narrow, but his uncle hasn't. And I really love the juxtaposition of he doesn't come out and say this. You just have to know it, which is neat. That Peter Parker had Uncle Ben, and Uncle Ben was trying to tell Peter what to do with his powers in this roundabout way. And Miles Morales' uncle is responsible for the fact that he becomes Spider-Man. I love that. It's so cool. So anyway, I did not expect to like this as much as I did, much less put it on my number 4 spot for the year. Fan-freaking-tastic. Really great book.
Let me ask you this. I found this series interesting, and to the point where what's that?
Have you been reading this?
I have not been reading it, but I've been making myself aware of it.
Okay, cool.
There's a few series I'm interested in, but I haven't started reading yet, like Hulk and Fantastic Four, for instance. Do you think? I know it's probably too late. This is like, shutting the barn door after the cows have left. But do you think it would have been? Do you think the Ultimate Universe would have been more interesting if it was done this way, with different characters as the Marvel characters?
Yes, I do, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, it's easy to say that now that I'm getting to see one. I go, well, this is awesome. They should have done it all this way. Yeah, I mean, and so that's why I quickly said that. Having said that, I mean, like, Ultimate Spider-Man, what I've read of it is really good.
Yeah, I've just never been able to get excited about the Ultimate Universe, even as good as Bendis' work has been, and some of the other works in the Ultimate Universe, because I just have this constant feeling like it doesn't count. It's not the regular universe. It's just this side universe of pretty much the same stuff, except everyone's cooler.
See, that's what
that's kind of it.
Now, the thing about it is, and Vince has told me a lot about this because he's been reading Ultimate for a long time, and he said that when it started, and I think he's right about this, that when it started, it wasn't really meant to be a big universe like the regular Marvel U is, where like everything was going to be kind of separate. So it was like, you had Ultimate Spider-Man, and that was its own thing. You had Ultimate X-Men, it was kind of its own thing, and they weren't going to have all this crossover. And yeah, I think it feels more like it's just a slightly altered version of the Marvel Universe now because they've done too much regular Marvel stuff with it. I think when it started, it was kind of a cooler idea.
Well, the original pitch was to bring in non-comic fans. This was sort of in a weird way Marvel's 52 attempt. And if you look at early promos for it, they did a lot of like pitching this to people who've never read a comic before.
Yeah.
And a lot of the language,
And I think it worked to a degree. I think Ultimate did bring some people on.
I suppose so, but I do remember.
But I'm not sure they ever read anything outside of what they were reading with Ultimate. You know what I mean? I think it got some people excited to read Ultimate Spider-Man because it was like, okay, this is updated. It's Peter Parker in high school, but now. And the problem is, like, to keep getting new generations, you'd have to just keep doing that. And I don't know what the point of that would be.
Yeah, so the point, after a while, it just becomes another Marvel universe, just sitting side by side.
Because it has too much history behind it, and they've kept it all there. So so at least with these new number ones with Ultimate, they've created a real, genuine jumping on point where everybody can read it and pretty much know what's going on. And I say that because, and I say that, and I think that I'm right because I haven't read hardly any Ultimate, and I'm reading this and X-Men and liking both quite a bit. Mm-hmm. They've got their alternate version of Stryker is running around wearing preaching this anti-mutant gospel like he's sent from God, and he's wearing a Sentinel costume. It's fantastic. He's dressed up like a Sentinel. I love it.
All right, who's ready for my number 3?
Ooh, I am.
Okay, good. It's Batman number 2 by Scott Snyder.
2 also, yes.
Yes. Batman number 2 by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. And as great as Batman number 1 is, I did really enjoy Batman number 2, maybe a little bit more, because I felt like it solidified how good number 1 was, frankly.
Oh, I don't agree. I was disappointed with number 1, and then number 2 just knocked it out.
Yeah, I liked number 1 a lot, and it was just the opening sequence. There's 2 really exciting opening sequences. We see Bruce Wayne being thrown out of the top of Wayne Tower, which, by the way, I was excited to see them rebuilding at the beginning of this issue.
Yeah,
because it was the top was blown off by the Clockwork guy or something in Gates of Gotham. So I was thinking, oh no, we're never going to see that again. And then we had the new 52, and I thought, oh, we won't see that building again. And here it is, in its glory, being rebuilt. And we cut to that to like 24 hours earlier, and we have this exciting motorcycle chase with the subway, which I enjoyed quite a bit. I mean, as exciting as any sequence I've seen in the Bruce Timm series or even the Nolan stuff. I just really dug it. And Capullo really does draw action so well.
He does.
And I love seeing a good action sequence in Batman. Sometimes Batman can be a little stilted here and there in some of its, depending on who's writing him, of course. I really enjoy Capullo's Batman a lot. It almost looks like a blending of Bruce Timm and Todd McFarlane, if that makes any sense.
I wouldn't have thought of Bruce Timm. That's really interesting.
Yeah, just some of the shots kind of just makes me feel
now
like
that
that.
you say that, I'm thinking about what I don't have it in my hand, but I'm thinking about how Bruce is drawn out of costume, and you're absolutely right about that.
Mm-hmm. If I have any complaints about his art, it's this other guy. I think his name is Lincoln March. Lincoln March looks exactly like Bruce except bigger.
Oh, that bugged me too. Yep.
It's like, can at least put a mustache or a goatee on this guy?
Maybe
he
make
looks
him
just like him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, if Lincoln March puts on glasses, do people think he's Clark Kent? Yes. But let's see. And then of course
that's hilarious.
Well, we of course get to meet our owl assassin. This whole courtship of Owl's mystery, I think, has been really intriguing so far.
Yeah.
And this issue does a lot of what I think Snyder has done very well with this book so far, is he's given us a lot of fast-paced action. At the same time, he's been able to give us a lot of layered information and history. And it's just, each issue has just been wonderful to read.
Well, my number 3, Manos.
Yes?
Is Venom #1, Rick Remender. Man, I thought I was going to hate this when it came out, and it's become my favorite book, definitely one of my favorite books. Once again, if I were only going to get 2 Marvel books right now, it'd be this and Daredevil. Wow. Venom is a superhero now.
Finally!
And it works. And the thing is, you got people like, well, no, Venom's supposed to be a villain. I'm like, yeah, well, that's why he doesn't work in his own book, So if you're gonna, not really. So if you're gonna really, go the whole 9 yards and make him a hero, you might as well put somebody in that costume that we really care about to be a hero. Because Eddie Brock was great as a villain, but he just doesn't work in his own stories all that well, at least in the Venom costume. So, they made it Flash Thompson. And at first I was like, really? You're gonna try to make me care about, like, Peter Parker's old high school bully? Yep, and it's fantastic. Thing is, I didn't really know about a lot of the backstory that they've done recently with Flash Thompson, so part of why I enjoyed this so much was because I got all of that, which was really interesting. The whole thing of, he's in the army and he got his legs blown off, now he's a paraplegic, and just the idea, first of all, the idea that we've got a paraplegic superhero now is really cool. I mean, granted, he's got legs with the Venom costume, but I mean, like, I really dig the idea that they took this guy that you would figure, okay, well, they blew Flash Thompson's legs off. He's not going to be important. You know what I mean? It's like, nope, he is, and he's Venom. It's like it's such a great idea. Remender just gets all the notes right of how to tell a good, gripping superhero story and all the elements that make for a really good superhero story, but it's not too cliched. For instance, we've got a brand new superhero. So what does he have to have? He's got to have a supervillain. He's got to have his arch nemesis. And who's that going to be? The Jack-o'-lantern. Well, that's a really cool idea because the Jack-o'-lantern is a villain who has never gotten a whole lot of panel time, and he's never been real important before. So we're going to bring him in and do stuff with him and make him this really scary terrorist and make him Flash Thompson's arch nemesis. And they make it personal for Thompson as the series goes on by having him kidnap Betty Brant and stuff like that. And it's what I was worried about with it was that it would be too much of a war comic because the first drawings I saw of what this was going to look like, it was just it looked like the Venom costume with his army gear, and I was like, oh god, really? This is dumb.
You look like Snake Eyes.
Yeah, and I didn't like it at all. And here's the thing. I'm still not, like, extremely crazy about that look, but the look's not important because, again, like I said, Remender gets all the story stuff right. The thing that keeps me reading this and so excited about it every issue is when he puts this costume on, he's got 24 hours before the Venom symbiote completely takes him over. And and that's consistent with how Venom works, pretty much. And so if he stays in it too long or lets it take over, if he's not careful, because when you got the Venom symbiote on, you've got to really think really hard to not completely get taken over by it. And when he gets really really upset or really angry about something, guess what? Suddenly he's got a Venom face. And it's really cool how every so often he'll have a panel where suddenly he's just full-fledged Venom. You're like, whoa, when did that happen? And it's really fun to read because of that. But it's this great ticking time bomb story, because not only are you worried, oh God, if he's in it too long, if he gets stuck in it, and out in the field, it's going to take him over. But also, you've got somebody back at headquarters with their finger on a trigger, and if it gets to that point, and they think that it's the point of no return in that 24 hours, they're also going to blow his suit up. And, it's this constant ticking time bomb. This whole series has been fantastic, and it was really difficult to pick one single issue. So I picked number 1 because it surprised me so much. And we do get to see some really great fun Venom face in the middle of this, which I was worried we wouldn't get. Because it's a war comic, and as it goes on, it becomes more and more of a superhero comic. It's not just Venom out in the field with war stuff. By issue 3 or 4, he's got a really fantastic fight with Spider-Man, and then the stuff that went into Spider Island was also really good, and I didn't expect it to be. So anyway, God, this is a good book. I hope it goes on for a really long time.
This is Marvel's 50th attempt to make Venom a hero, and
yeah, well, I guess 50 times the charm, because God, it's great.
Well, they did the right thing. They took Eddie Brock out of the costume, and that's the thing I've never understood. Like,
well, no, they took Matt Gargan out of the costume.
Matt Gargan, whatever.
But, yeah, but I'm just saying. But I mean, like, that was the worst thing they ever did with Venom.
Yeah, it's just like I've never understood the thought process ever behind the whole Venom as a hero thing. Like, hey, we have this really popular villain named Venom. Let's make him a hero. They just pushed it and pushed it and pushed it over the years. And what you have to do is get the guy out of the suit. I mean, Eddie Brock can't be a hero because he kills innocent people. That's it. That makes you a bad hero. I don't care what kind of argument you can. One of the most important things as a hero, a superhero, is you don't kill innocent people.
Yeah,
and that's what Eddie Brock does. And
yeah,
I've never been behind that. I just can't, like, I'm a Spider-Man, fan. Why would I? Spider-Man fans have this thing about responsibility, just like their hero. Why would I want to read about Eddie Brock killing people, and now he's supposed to be a hero? Well, now you put Flash Thompson. The guy's been there since, issue 1, Amazing Fantasy 15, I think he was in, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
All the way. And it's like, and you see this guy who, over the last couple decades, he's, as a character, life has just been disintegrating him. I mean, literally, he has no legs, at the beginning of this. So, I mean, of course you get on board with this. Has he and Spider-Man met yet?
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, he and Peter Parker are best friends. Yeah. So you've got some parts where they're conversing, and Venom Flash Thompson has the same problem Peter Parker has always had, which is, I really want to be able to tell you what I'm doing with this whole Venom thing, but I can't. And you have this exchange right after he just fought him as Spider-Man, because the symbiote took him over and he couldn't help himself. It's just great. What's cool is, the other really cool thing to go along with what you're talking about is that Flash Thompson is the hero in this, not Venom. The Venom suit is the weapon, and it's the thing that makes him able to be a hero. But they don't change the symbiote conveniently, just so that can all work. The symbiote is constantly working against him. Mm-hmm. And that's part of what makes it so engaging and so exciting. And the other thing I wanted to mention about what you were just saying is that the way that they always tried to pitch the whole Venom as a hero thing before this with Eddie Brock was the whole lethal protector concept. And for me, I'm like, why? But why do we need that if we have Punisher? Like, I don't understand the difference. It's like, okay, we got a supernatural Punisher,
He's even worse than Punisher.
Yeah, so it just doesn't even kind of work. I mean, Venom would always say things, I don't hurt innocents, and then he'd always find some way to kind of sort of, muck that up, and so, I don't know.
Yeah, I've never been a big Punisher fan, but even I will admit, he doesn't kill innocent people who get in his way.
Yeah. I think Venom would do that on accident, you know? I mean...
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one of the things I always thought made him an interesting villain, was he would kill innocent people who'd get in his way, and he'd blame Spider-Man for that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, it's your fault you won't let me kill you, because these people, they're dying because you won't let me kill you.
Yeah.
That's an interesting twisted psychology.
Absolutely.
But you can't take that guy and make him a hero.
No, it doesn't work.
So, thankfully, took the guy out of the suit. That was the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
All right. My number 2 is Batman Incorporated number 6. That is Grant Morrison and Chris Burham. This is when this had the framing device of the Average Joes of crime. Average Joe and the Average Joes. That small but up-and-coming super villain group. They're dealing with this guy trying to figure out, how to attack Batman and such, and getting involved in Gotham City. Meanwhile, we're going back through what Bruce Wayne is doing with the whole Batman Incorporated thing. And boy, this book just moves. I mean, this is just one simple issue, and it feels like a whole miniseries within one, 20-some page issue. I mean, it jumps all throughout time. We get to see people online arguing about if Bruce Wayne is Batman or not, and people,
Oh, that was cool.
That was a really neat device, I have to think. Then we see, him working with, the Outsiders and Robin and Nightwing dressed as Batman. And let's see, I love the sequence in Paris with the Night Runner. And then, of course, Cassandra Cain shows up for the first time named Black Bat, which had me excited. And it's just one page. It's like, oh, okay, her costume looks terrible, but she's...
Yeah, but at least she's not generic, I'm Cassandra Cain with something that sort of resembles a costume.
Yeah. Although, to be honest, I mean, I hate that cape.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's terrible. But, oh boy, and it just... It gives you an idea, I don't know if this book was, if he was rushed to do this issue, because there's a lot of stuff going on here that I expected him to take a lot longer to get to.
Yeah, me too. I was like, what? Slow down a minute.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's amazing how fast-paced Grant Morrison writes. It's just amazing to me. It's like, he has the same amount of room that other comic creators do, but he just stuffs so much information in every book, and he's able to put 34 action sequences, and they all seem to work, and all this information, and it just comes together so well in this, and I remember just being so excited about this issue, and I loved it.
It's funny, I almost picked a Batman Inc. issue, but that wasn't the one. I think it's 7. I almost picked the one with Man of Bats.
Oh yeah, that was a really good one too.
Which I just thought, as a standalone story, was really, really cool.
I thought Man of Bats came earlier than that.
Was it? I can't remember now.
Because I think number 7 is the really awful internet episode.
No, that's 8.
Oh, that's 8. Okay.
That's why I think Man of Bats was 7. Yeah, but I'm not. But again, I'm not sure.
Now I can't remember.
Yeah, well, whatever. I'm not looking at it right now.
But I just want to say one more time, issue 8 was terrible.
Yeah, I know, you really, really hated that. I didn't hate it as much as you, but I had more of a raised eyebrow about it. I was just sort of like, why is this even in here?
It was so disappointing, too, because it was Barbara Gordon's last Oracle issue.
And you just went on and on about the art.
Mm-hmm.
Your review of that was really funny, by the way.
Thank you.
My number 2 is Aquaman number 1, which I know you don't care anything about, Manos, but this is my favorite thing of the New 52. I've been just eating the series up, and I'm not usually a giant Jeff Johns fan, but man, if it's a good book, it's a good book. This is really, really great because it made me care about Aquaman. I won't talk about it too much because I've been talking a lot about Aquaman lately. But man, I never cared about Aquaman. I was just like, he talks to fish and he swims in the water and you have to really contrive ways for him to even matter. because, there's not always going to be water around. So, like, are his powers always useful? More importantly, why is he always going to care to be in the middle of a fight? And, with the rest of the Justice League or whatever. And, this book, specifically this first issue, deals with all that. Jeff Johns says, okay, all you people who don't care anything about Aquaman, here's why he's cool. And, does that by having Aquaman, have to directly deal with people in the book who I think are representing, citizens in the book who I think are representing us, the reader, who might have always thought that about Aquaman, and them saying, oh hey, it's that guy we always laugh at, and what's he doing here? And he goes into a diner, and where this book really got me is when he goes into a diner and he orders the fish and chips. And Aquaman's eating seafood, and I just love that. And this guy is sitting across from me. He's like, "You can't eat seafood. You talk to fish." And Aquaman says, "No, I don't actually talk to fish. Fish have brains that are really small, and they can actually talk. And here's how I actually control them." And he actually explains how his powers work, which is really cool. And then it's framed by this plot about these, like, giant, scary piranha creatures that are coming out of the ocean, and we don't learn very much about them yet. All of that comes later, and they end up being really interesting and surprisingly sympathetic, considering that at first it seems like they're just going to be these giant, scary monsters for no good reason. But like I don't know, it before you know anything about them, it sure looks like maybe that's going to go somewhere interesting, and then it does. And then Ivan Reis's art is really epic and bold and exciting, and he's I don't know, he's becoming one of my favorite artists also. So anyway, that's my number 2.
All right. And my number 1.
Here it comes.
You ready? It's
all right, here it comes.
It's a number 1 issue as well, and it's Daredevil number 1.
Oh, really? You put it all the way at number 1? Wow.
I could not put. Well, actually, here's the thing. My only difficult choice was deciding which issue.
I thought I was gushing too hard. I almost picked 4.
Oh, yeah, and, in this new issue was excellent.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought, I don't want to pick anything that just came out.
Yeah, either.
So what I did was I just, decided, okay, I wanted to limit my number 1s, but, this is the start of it all, so I'm just going to go here. Let's see. And we have Mark Waid. Thank you, Mr. Waid, for just being fantastic. And Pablo Rivera.
For 3 years.
What's that?
And I said, and please stay on Daredevil for 3 years.
Stay on it for a long time, sir. Of course, these days a long run is like a year. So,
yeah, you're not wrong.
Unless you're Brian Michael Bendis. It's like he seems to have this magical ability to stay on a book for eons. But everyone else seems to disappear after 3 issues. I want to get to this. I love Daredevil, and he's always been kind of independent, oddly enough, from the other Marvel books. I've always suspected it has something to do with sort of Miller's shadow that's been over the character since 79, really. Because everybody kind of wants to be Frank Miller and add something to that. Unfortunately, that usually translates to making him dark and brooding and destroying his life and rebuilding it over and over again. And we've seen that several times over the years. Usually well done. One of my favorite examples is the Bendis run where he gets outed as a superhero. And what I love about that was it was never retconned. It was never the editors of Daredevil have never done the superhero time distortion, time plot thingy where everyone forgets, and I hate it. They still deal with it, and that's what Wade does. He actually, you get a sense of Daredevil's history. At the same time, this character has been through so much horror. He's decided, you know what? There's the only direction I have is up. And so he is now, he has this new attitude, the world, the universe is trying to destroy me over and over again. I keep coming back. Maybe things aren't so bad. Maybe, I can beat, whatever problems that come up, and it really has brightened up his attitude. At the same time, he's back at work with Foggy, and they're having complications, because everybody knows is Daredevil. I so love that everybody's in his face about it. And you know the new district attorney, I can't remember her name, but she's actually terrific. Where she constantly calls him Daredevil. I do love the newest issue where he has that T-shirt that says "I'm not Daredevil." I have to say, nothing has made me laugh harder in a comic this year than that scene.
Yeah, I know.
That was the funniest thing I've read in a comic all year long. And also and that's another thing. This book is fun. I mean, the dialogue is hilarious sometimes. The plots are just really intricate and fun to read. The action is fast-paced, and it's reintroduced Daredevil to the Marvel universe in a way. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure the spot was picked on purpose, not just at random, because let's get this dark character who's been, through, all this real realistic crime stuff for quite a few years, and let's put him against the Spot first thing.
Yeah.
At a mob wedding, which still has kind of a believable feel. It still feels like Daredevil's universe, and let's see. But, it has these crazy things that pop into it, like the Claw guys, and, the Spot as well. Also, there's a wonderful little backup at the end, which kind of explains, where his standing is in the world at the moment. And also, I love how he's able to explain the powers, and it feels like, nothing, he hasn't changed anything. But it just feels so fresh and new, the way he uses the powers in every issue. And it's so cool and clever. And it's just one of those things where you just pick up an issue and you're waiting for the cool thing. What's that cool thing he's going to do?
And it's always there.
And it's there. And he hasn't disappointed. What a great book. I love it. I could have picked any of the Daredevil issues. There's 7, right, so far? I think so. I could have picked any one of those 7 issues to be my number one choice, but I decided to go with issue 1. Buy this book.
Wow, and I thought I was gushing over it too hard.
No, you were not.
I did not.
You're being too subtle.
I was being too subtle. All right, well, I'll try to be less subtle with my number one, maybe. My number one is Detective Comics 881. How could I not pick something from Scott Snyder's run on Detective that last year? Jeez. This was like, I had a tough time picking a single issue with this because it's all so kind of interwoven. So like I picked the last issue of the arc, because it ends so well, just like it begins so well. Scott Snyder is my favorite writer right now, and the man has jumped on Batman and figured out how to, Detective more than Batman so far with the New 52, although I think that in places he's probably going to get more this way. But man, he turned Batman into a horror comic, and he made it a horror comic in a cool way. It's not just like creepy for the sake of creepy. Like, it still feels like Batman's universe, but it's scary stuff. I mean, he brings in the sociopathic James Gordon, Jim Gordon's son, and you go issues and issues wondering just how crazy this kid is and just what he's capable of. And there are points where Scott Snyder has some great bits of misdirection, which is his shtick. That's what he's great at. Is making you think one thing and then pushing you in a totally different direction. He's totally uncallable. And he's got these places where for a minute there, even though there are these places where you really think that James is this horrible person who's capable of anything, you go, yeah, but we don't really have a lot of evidence. Like he's never really killed anyone, like we don't really know enough about him. And as time goes on, we ultimately find out that he is just as scary as we thought maybe he was in the first place. And he's got, and when we get toward the end, he's got this really scary plan that we thought for a minute was the Joker's plan. And I love, by the way, that the Joker is in places in this, but it's not a Joker story. Just the idea that Scott Snyder would make the Joker kind of a pawn in somebody else's plan is really kind of neat. He's not entirely a pawn, because he's the Joker. Like he's smarter than that to be just just upon, but like for all intents and purposes, he's not the mastermind behind this plan. And James's whole idea is that it's not him that there's a problem with. There's nothing wrong with his brain. It's everybody else, and he likes who he is, and he thinks that everybody else should be more like him. So he puts together this toxin that he tries to get into the water supply for all of Gotham to try to basically turn people into crazy sociopaths. And when you get to the very, very end, the final panel is this like creepy picture of this little baby's eyes, and you realize that that it actually got into I don't think it was the water supply. I think it was like so I forget. It's been a while since I've read it. It's something to do with kids and what kids are drinking. And anyway, you find out that these kids are actually already affected, and that this has already happened. And Scott Snyder still being on Batman, I really wonder how this is going to play later on. What's going to happen? Because now we've got potentially a whole bunch of kids that are going to grow up to be sociopaths because of James Gordon. Man, it's twisted. It's super ultra twisted. The other thing is, I really like how he writes Dick Grayson, because I don't like Dick in the Batsuit. I've always agreed with Manos on that. But this was always more of Gordon's story than it was of Dick Grayson's story. And what is I mean, it still is a Dick Grayson story, but I never felt like it was really Batman. I always felt like it was Dick Grayson, and it's handled really, really well. This is much more about the world of Batman than it is about Batman, and it works. Appropriately, it's in Detective Comics and not a comic called Batman, which is kind of nice, because it is a genuine detective story, which is also really good. Because I always hated it when you'd have stories in Detective that weren't detective stories. Did you ever think about that, Manos?
Yeah, it would bug me. It's like, well, why bother even call it Detective and just call it Batman, action. The other issue?
Yeah, exactly. It just didn't work. Ugh.
Well, there was a brief time there every so often, like when Batman has a whole bunch of books, like he does that right now. There's this danger of them all becoming kind of the same book.
Yes.
Except to lesser degrees. And we'll probably have that in another year or so, since we have 15 Batman books right now. I do have to ask you a question now. Batman Year One is still in continuity, right?
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
So that was 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So is James Gordon Jr. 5 years old in this story?
Dude, what about Damian frickin' Wayne?
Oh yeah, well that was my first thought, but my second thought was recently concerning this storyline.
Yeah.
And he's like a teenager, right? He's like 18 or 17 or something.
The thing about the 5 year gap thing, I have never been able to put my finger on exactly how that's supposed to work. There was some talk at the beginning of the 52, and I mean it's all kind of hearsay, that the whole idea it was supposed to be that Batman was actually fighting a long time before any of the other superheroes came, we knew about them. But it's entirely ambiguous, and like all the other heroes, Bruce looks really young. Keeping all of Batman's continuity intact and having it only happen in a few years doesn't make any kind of sense at all. I also think it's kind of ironic that Batman was somehow immune to the New 52, but Superman wasn't, given that one of them is really powerful and the other one's just a dude.
Yeah, well, he's Batman, so, him and his buddies are, immune to this stuff.
What's your question, Manos? Would you have preferred they did the treatment to Batman like they did to Superman?
I'd be, I don't know. I mean, since I read Batman more, I'm kind of happy for the most part, but there are some tweaks and changes that are really annoying. To be honest, I wish they had done either no continuity changes or all continuity changes.
Started all over, yeah.
All over. I don't like the halfway stuff that they're doing. And they've done this several times before. Each time they do a new continuity reboot, they do it halfway every time. Yeah. And I don't know why they don't learn from, the other two past reboots and just, go all out.
Problem is, if you're going to keep as much in the continuity as they did, it's much more likely that in just a few months to a couple of years, they'll just retcon everything backwards rather than retcon everything forwards, if that makes any sense.
Oh, it will make sense. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it does make sense. I think, like, even after Crisis, they started doing some change. I guess that's what Zero Hour is about. And then a few years after 0 Hour, they started making some changes. Like maybe 3 to 5 years, they started doing some big changes. And then I think from the mid-'90s up until this past summer, they had a pretty decent grasp on continuity, I thought anyway.
Yeah.
And then they just chucked half of that out the window. I really wish they'd just gone all, because I really do feel this is my problem with the constant DC reboots. Is it does affect my enjoyment because I emotionally invest in these characters, and once I get the feeling that I don't know what's real, I don't know what's right, I don't know if anything's going to last, I get emotionally pulled out of the universe, and that's what I think. Once they do reboots over and over and over again, I think they're in danger of doing that. It's taking their own fans out of the universe. I mean, I have to emotionally invest in these characters and these stories. And when you keep doing that, it just kind of does damage that. Because I don't know. I don't know anymore.
I collect the print versions of comics because I like to go back and reread them, and I get the sense sometimes that DC and Marvel to a certain extent sometimes too kind of have this idea that what's already printed in some way or another doesn't really matter anymore. And with the constant reboots, that's definitely the idea that comes off. And so I feel kind of weird, going back to older stuff and going, well, like the company that made this doesn't even care about this anymore, but I do. Like I don't like that.
Yeah, it's weird to care more about something than the owners do. I just find it strange. Cause
you have a hard time going back to old stuff sometimes after it's been retconned and be like, boy, I love this, but it just feels weird now.
No, not so much. I have now a hard time getting wrapped up in anything because I feel like it's going to be retconned in the future.
That makes a lot of sense.
The present day stuff, I have more trouble reading the present day stuff, which is why I constantly mock fans for getting upset that Dick Grayson was taken out of the Batsuit. Because it's like, really?
Yeah.
Had you just started reading comics? Of course they were going to do that, and that was written all over the whole thing, I thought. But I mean, even things that's supposed to be, I don't know, I have trouble getting invested in things that I know are supposed to be permanent, but I only know they're permanent as long as that writer's working on the book or that editor is there. Because, after a while, whoever, comes next is just going to completely change everything. So I don't know. It's just, it is hard. I can still enjoy the past stuff for what it is, and what it means to me, but present day stuff, I do have more, I have more time. It's harder to get invested in it.
What I didn't like about the idea of Batman Inc. was precisely that they were stringing along the readers who were really into the Dick Grayson Batman. Because if they'd done it more like FF, where it was, well, we're going to take Human Torch out for a while, and then when he comes back, we'll have the Fantastic Four again. Well, we're going to take Bruce Wayne out of Batman for a while. We'll explore Dick Grayson as Batman, but we all know eventually Batman's coming back. I think the reason that some of those people got, and I still think it was silly, just like you did, but I do think that part of the reason readers got so invested in Dick Grayson was because of Batman Inc. Where it was like, oh, well, Bruce Wayne's back, but he's still in the Batsuit. Maybe he'll always be in the Batsuit. You know what I mean? But you gotta admit, they were kind of stringing him along a little bit.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, nothing is sadder than watching Dick Grayson in the Batsuit next to Batman.
Oh, I know.
It is pathetic.
Yep.
It is absolutely pathetic. The new Leviathan issue, which I haven't reviewed just yet.
I haven't read it yet, so don't tell me anything about it.
Okay, well, I mean, there's quite a few action sequences where they're fighting together alongside each other as Batman and other Batman. And he looks like a schmuck. it's like, you know the other guy's back, right? I don't know. It just looks silly to have two Batmans, running around. What if the president went into a coma? And of course the vice president takes over, and then he's fine. The vice president has to step down. He doesn't still.
Yes.
It's not like, hey, we're two presidents.
Well, that's why I always thought Batman Inc. was somewhat of a contrived idea, where it seemed like it was almost just there so that Dick Grayson could stay in the Batsuit.
It's just...
I don't know, I think. And that's not to say it was bad, because, I like Elias. It's Morrison, and he's writing some great stuff, but I just didn't like the idea of it. Can I ask you a question, since you read that and I didn't?
Sure.
Have we got any sense yet as to, if there's going to be more of that series, or if it's totally done now, or...
I don't know.
I haven't read it, because
I have no idea if we're going to get.
Because originally they said it was going to come back as another 7 or 8 miniseries, but I don't know if it is or not. Now that they put out a one shot.
Yeah, I don't. I really sincerely don't know. I mean, that's the thing. It's just like, is this over? Was this so we could get to an ending point? Are we going to have more? And is the more going to be in the 52 universe, or is it going to be in sort of the side pocket Morrison verse?
Well, and see, I don't know if it is supposed to be a pocket universe or not. I was hoping that something in whatever the rest of Batman Inc. is would explain why why Bruce Wayne snapped his fingers and now Batman Inc. isn't happening anymore. Because that's what I've been hating about the Bat books, is that, they made such a big deal out of Batman Inc., and then, because you can't have your cake and eat it too on this. Okay, we got the new 52 universe, but most of Batman is not really affected by it, so we can't just... And I might step on some toes with this, but two giant things. First of all, we can't just snap our fingers, oh, we don't have Batman Inc. anymore. And we can't just snap our fingers, oh, it was a miracle and now Barbara Gordon is Batgirl. We can't do that. We have to have, even if we do it later, there's gotta be more explanation than that. We can't just do it because, we've got this new continuity. If the new continuity didn't change anything, it doesn't make any sense.
I know.
It's the new 52. Things are different.
Yeah, that's it. Just shut up. It's new 52.
The whole universe and not change the whole. Anyway, it makes me want to blow my brains out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Thinking about it. Bring in new readers.
Yeah, my advice to DC: your next reboot, all or nothing.
All or nothing.
Just. Either keep the continuity and really market it, like you did this time around, which was really well done.
Yeah.
Or just go all out and just start over. End the universe, end all those stories, tie it up all together in a nice bow, and start over. I as a lifelong fan would not mind. I would not be horrified and angry.
No, and you could plan it all out from the beginning, where you'd say, okay, we're starting everything absolutely over. We're going to have this many books. These particular characters are going to start out, and we're not going to tell anybody who we're bringing in when. You're just not going to know if your favorite characters are even going to exist anymore. But of course, the plan would be they will. But if I were them, I'd map it out. Where 2 years from now, we're bringing back this character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just have fun with it. Just excite. Just kind of start over from scratch, with a better plan.
Present day, yeah.
Because a lot of comic book stuff, gets kind of, over the years, Marvel and DC and whatever, that stuff can get kind of hodgepodge and, a lot of backpedaling and, oh, hey, this kind of was cool. Maybe we should have done that. Oh, well, let's kind of sort of do it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when you can start over, fresh and where things can go, that's an exciting way to go about it. But, this is, of course, almost Monday morning quarterbacking I'm doing here. But that was pretty much my feelings on the year on 2011, which was pretty much like the DC 52 year, really.
Yeah, well, which is funny, though, because, that was the latter half of the year. I mean, I had a tough time actually picking stuff from earlier in the year this time.
Yeah, there was some, I have to admit, I was fairly apathetic the first half of the year.
Whether you like or hate what was going on this last year, you have to admit that it was one of the more exciting years of comics we've had in a long time. Just to see how things are going, both with the 52 and all the marketing stuff, and also with the format and digital and how that's gonna affect comic book stores affect just how people read comics, and a bunch of really, really interesting things happen this year that are going to affect the industry for the next several years, I'd say.
Oh yeah.
So, like it or hate it, it was a big, big deal.
This was quite an exciting year, I have to say.
But I'm reading more books now than I ever have, and I'm reading more Marvel books now than I ever thought I would. I've really been impressed with Marvel this last year. It's compared to the year before, it's like a totally different company.
Do you think Marvel is slowly figuring out how to compete with the 52?
Yes, I do. Well, they're competing with them for me. I'm reading more of their books.
Yeah, because I think at first it seemed like they were kind of, like everyone else, just kind of blindsided by the whole thing.
And I think they've decided just not to even hardly acknowledge it.
Which I think was a great idea, because I was afraid they would, like, overdo it, overcompensate.
No. They've had some new number ones. And honestly, I think they could have afforded to have even some more number ones, not like start series over, but just have a few new series. I think that would have helped them a little bit. Mm-hmm. But overall, I mean, I think most of the stuff that they did was already planned, because that is kind of basic comic strategy these days. Get out a certain number of number ones because they'll sell.
Yeah.
So I don't,
and we fall for it.
I think some people probably thought, oh well, the whole Ultimate thing was somewhat of a, the whole Ultimate number ones was somewhat of an answer to 52. I don't think Marvel knew about the 52 when they did that.
No, I think Marvel. Even before the 52, Marvel was addicted to new number ones.
Oh yeah.
That was kind of their thing.
And actually, that's been my biggest criticism of them this year is us, having books that were at really high numbers and starting them back at number one. I love Jason Aaron's Incredible Hulk, but I don't like the fact that the numbering system started over. We don't need that. I don't know why they can't do what they're doing with some of their other books, which is they'll keep the numbers, but then on a jumping on point in huge letters, they'll say first issue of a new arc or something like that. And I think it's fine on the first issue of your new arc to write first issue on it, even if it's a different number. I think that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. And I think they should be doing that more often than just starting numbers over. Well, anyway, we've been at this for nearly 2 hours, Manos. So, yeah, I know. But, well, we had a lot to say about these issues, and hopefully someone cares.
I care.
Well, if nothing else, you and I had a good time. Well, hey, thanks everybody for listening to us, if you made it this far. And Manos and I will see you very soon on Pop Culture Yearbook, and see you later.
Bye, folks.